Hello, in this video I'm going to show you the books that I took to the World Fantasy Convention in Brighton and I was hoping to get signed. There's quite a lot to get through, so I'm going to start with Joe Haldeman. And the first book I got signed was the Hemingway Hoax. Now, my apologies for the reflection. This was the only Haldeman hardback that I had. I did have some paperbacks signed previously by him. That's the only hardback I've got signed, and I'll show you the other books he signed. This was a book that I probably should have saved for a haul, but he did sign for me. It cost me £2.50 in the, I think it was the one book I bought in the last week of the month. And the only reason I bought this is because it had a story by Joe Haldeman and he signed it at the convention. Next are some paperbacks I got signed. This one, A Separate War and Other Stories. The Coming. And The Old 20th. There is his signature in that one. I won't show you the signature in every one, otherwise this video would be too long. So that was the ones I got signed by Joe Haldeman. He also signed a couple of anthologies, which I will show you later. Next, I'm going to show you the books that I got signed by Lisa Tuttle. Now, this book was already signed. I'm not certain why I realised it was, including a story by Lisa Tuttle. And I got her to sign at her story. I'd be interested to know what people think. Do they prefer anthologies that are signed at the story, or do they prefer them where they're signed on the contents page? I don't have a firm view. Sometimes when they sign on the contents page, it can get rather crowded and they struggle to find room, so I have mixed views. I got her to sign this, Memories of the Body, and oops, the other books are all basically, I think, yes, of one title. Windhaven. This is a book I've picked up. I think in the last year or so. When I collected the Timescapes, I did take the chance to pick up a couple of Canadian editions. So this is a first printing, and you can tell it's a Canadian printing by the Maple Leaf. So I keep that in my Timescape collection so that I can show an example of a Canadian first printing. Next one I'm going to show you is one I bought signed a few years ago. It was signed by George R.R. Martin. It's signed by the artist. If I can find it, I will tell you. Or perhaps it's the I think I would have to check my Timescape master list to determine who the artist is. As far as I'm aware, that is by the artist, and now it has been signed by Lisa Tuttle. As you know, or may know if you watched all my early videos, I collected all the Timescapes, and this is the Windhaven Timescape edition, which is now signed by Lisa Tuttle. And finally, another copy of Windhaven. The copy signed by George R.R. Martin is not quite as sharp as one of my other copies. So what I've done with my Timescapes is where the signed editions are less sharp than another edition I have, I've kept both. So that is most of my Lisa Tuttle. Again, she also signed an anthology, which I will show you later. So I shall carry on. Right. This next bag is books I took along to be signed by Terry Windling, but as I've said in an earlier video, she was unwell and unable to attend. So these had a wasted trip, but I might as well show you. First of all, this one. Now this one had already been signed by Ellen Datlow, so though she was at the mass signing, she didn't actually sign this there. This had been signed previously. But I was hoping to get Terry Windling to sign as well, but I'm afraid she didn't. Let me just get a few more out. Just be a second. Right. Again, I'm going to show you a number of Borderlands books. But before I do that, I'm just going to show you two Elsewhere books. These were edited by Terry Windling and Mark Allen Arnold. So I took those along, hoping to get them signed, but unfortunately I couldn't. I'm just going to pause it. One final Elsewhere book. This one is a signed copy. This one I got at the Worldcon in 2014. It's signed by Will Shetterly. I was hoping to get it signed by Terry Windling, as it says up the top, the Borderlands series created by Terry Windling. And the remaining books I'm going to show you are Borderlands books. The first one in the series, probably the easiest to find, the Signet edition. That's number one. Number two, which is quite a bit harder. And all of the Borderlands books are worth picking up if you spot them in the wild. Finally, the hardest to get, Life on the Border. After Signet did them, Tor did them, and I've only got one of the two tours, so that's the other one. So it's a shame. I was hoping to get her to sign the Borderlands books, but unfortunately she was ill. I hope she's recovering. Carrying on. I got some books signed by Adrian Tchaikovsky. These are Shadows of the Apt, or the Apt books. These are difficult to find, especially in first printings. Here, just a plain signature for these. As far as I'm aware, I haven't got the full set yet. I'm still looking. So that was 4 paperbacks by Adrian. I have previously got books signed by him, so I didn't have that many to take, but I was pleased to get those 4 signed. What else will I show you? I'm not certain why that's in there. I'll move that. Next, these were not ones I took to the signing, but the ones I had to carry back. One I was quite pleased to get was this. It's one of the British Library books. It's Yesterday's Tomorrows, the story of classic British science fiction in 100 books, edited or written by Mike Ashley. Now this book, when it was issued, was £20, and I picked this up for £4, so I thought that was a good deal. And in the same shop, I made a mistake. I picked this one up. It says new, again £4, but I already have a copy, so that will have to go into my spares tray. At the convention, I was given a free book. Everyone got a tote bag, and not everyone wanted the book, so I did get this one given to me by someone who wasn't interested in it. Know nothing about it or the author, but for the free book I wasn't going to turn it down. And my free book that was in the tote bag I got is this, The Burning Circus, a British Fantasy Society anthology, edited by Johnny Mains. It's horror, which I must admit I do pick up when I see them if I think they're worthwhile, but I'm not a huge horror fan. But a free book I decided to keep. So those were extra books that I had to bring back. Oh, and I got one also in my tote bag. I got a second one. No Sympathy by Owen Dooley. Again, know nothing about the author, so again a free book. So I've brought it back, and I shall have to think about whether I keep it or not. Next, I'm going to show you some books. Again, this one I got signed by Ellen Datlow, but unfortunately Terry wasn't there, so it's only signed by one of the 2 editors. Another one, same thing, signed by Ellen Datlow, but I wasn't able to get Terry's signature. This is a book I took with me. I gather he was at the signing, but I didn't see him. It's a paperback by Edward Cox. I have got a couple of books signed by him. I have met him once. But I took this along, and it's my fault that I didn't find him. So that was one book I could have got something done with. Next, another one in the sort of fairy stories series, again signed by Ellen Datlow, and again not by Terry Windling. And finally, the year's best fantasy. So again, the ones I've got in this series are now signed by Ellen Datlow, and one or two of them are signed by, where there are stories by them, by Joe Haldeman. I think I got one signed by Ellen Kushner, and so Haldeman, and two stories by Lisa Tuttle. I'm not going to identify which ones and show you. Again, I had them signed at the story, but what is the correct way to do it? Should you get it signed on the contents page or at the story? So that was that. Again, another one now signed by Ellen Datlow. And another. As you can imagine, these books are thick, heavy hardcovers, so it was a rather heavy load that I took. Again, another one now signed by Ellen. And another. And another. And another one in this series. And another. This one I already had signed by Ellen, but I didn't have it signed by Terry. So I took this along, and that needn't have been taken had I known Terry was not going to be there. Next I'm going to show you some others that I got signed. This one, The Great Game, signed by Lavie Tidhar. Not much of a signature, but you get that with some authors. Oh, blast. I got this one signed by Lavie Tidhar, who was the editor. And sadly, I see there's a story by Zen Cho in it. And she was there. I did talk to her, but I didn't get her to sign this, and also Aliette de Bodard. So there were a couple signatures I could have got in that I didn't. I had two copies of this book, The Circumference of the World. So I got both of those signed by Lavie Tidhar. And I had one hardback by him, which is in absolutely lovely condition. Maror. So again, I got him to sign that. And this one I got him to line as well. Sign and line. That's it for Lavie Tidhar. Now, at the convention, on the website, before I went, they had a list of all the people who would be attending or planning to attend the mass autograph session. One person, well, out of the, I don't know, 50 or so that were down to be doing signings, maybe 60 or 70 of them, I'm not sure, there are about 20 who didn't turn up. So I'm not sure why. I stayed for most of the session. It was from 8 till 10 and I stayed till 10 to 10. One or two did turn up late. But I did take 2 Lauren Bukes books along. I was hoping to get those signed, but she hadn't turned up by about 10 to 10. And as I had to then go and get a bus to get back to where I was staying, I didn't hang around for the last 10 minutes, but I assume she didn't turn up. Just 2 or 3 more to show you. I got one signed by Aliette de Bodard. This was inscribed to me. 1 or 2 of the authors did ask if I wanted them signed to me, and when they did ask, I generally accepted. Left-Handed Booksellers of London by Garth Nix. Again, inscribed to me. He did say, or when he looked at it and found this page, he said, "Oh, this must be a first edition. They forgot to put my name on this page." So he recognised it as a first printing, even without looking at the copyright page. I'll show you 2 other books. This one I was hoping to get signed by Molly Tanzer. She's Illyrial, because W.S. Lack-Schmerner was writing in the 1800s, and it was reissued. Whether this is a print on demand or not, I don't know, but I do think it's a rather nice cover. But I didn't see Molly Tanzer there. She wasn't down to do the signing. I did have a look round the hall, but I didn't spot her, so whether she was there or not, I do not know. And a last book I was given, Bantam Horror 2026. It's a proof copy. I've had a look through. It's not many pages, about 130 odd. I had a quick look through. I didn't recognise a single one of the contributors to this. So there's about 6 or 7 stories. Rather oddly, they put the stories but not the authors on the contents page. So I've now shown you all the books I took and the ones I managed to get signed. I wanted to get this video out the way because I need to update my book list and find a home for these books, or put them back in the home they had previously. So I don't know whether this video would be of any interest to anyone. I mean, most of the books I haven't read, the ones I've shown you, so I can't say too much about them, but I hope some of you are familiar with some of those books. So I will now sign off. Thank you.